The massive space station hung against the backdrop of stars like a glittering diamond. Ambassador James Walker stood at the viewing window of his transport ship, adjusting his dark blue uniform one final time. After 6 months of travel, humanity's first diplomatic mission to the Galactic Council was about to begin. 10 minutes to docking, Ambassador, called out the pilot from the cockpit. Walker nodded, though his eyes remained fixed on the station. Its spiral arms stretched out for miles, housing representatives from over 300 alien species. Soon, humanity would make their case to join them. The transport glided smoothly into one of the smaller docking bays. Walker noticed how their simple Earth vessel looked out of place among the sleek ships of other species. Most of them had been traveling the stars for thousands of years before humans had even invented the wheel. As the airlock cycled, Walker turned to his small team. "Remember," he said, "we're here to show them that humanity deserves a seat at the table. Keep calm, stay professional, and don't let any insults get to you." The doors opened with a soft hiss. A group of aliens waited to greet them, led by a tall figure with pale gray skin. Walker recognized him as Undersecretary Trell from their video communications. The alien's 4 eyes blinked in sequence as he gave what passed for a smile among his kind. "Ambassador Walker," Trell said in perfectly accented English, "welcome to Central Station. I trust your journey was comfortable." "As comfortable as 6 months in space can be," Walker replied with a diplomatic smile. "We appreciate the Council granting us this audience." They walked through wide corridors filled with beings of all shapes and sizes. Some looked almost human, while others defied description. Walker noticed how many of them stopped to stare at the human delegation, some with curiosity, others with what seemed like disgust. "The council chamber is prepared," Trell explained as they walked. "Though I should warn you, some members are concerned about humanity's rapid expansion into space. Your development of faster-than-light travel barely 50 years after achieving spaceflight has caused quite a stir." Walker had expected this. "Progress shouldn't be feared, Undersecretary. Humanity has learned from its past mistakes. We come seeking friendship and knowledge, not conquest." A deep voice interrupted them. Pretty words from a species that still fights wars among themselves. Walker turned to face the new speaker. A massive creature covered in what looked like metallic scales towered over them. High Counselor Lord Grey, the most powerful member of the Council. "High Counselor," Walker bowed slightly. "You're well informed about Earth. Then you'll also know that we've had global peace for the past 20 years. Our wars taught us the value of unity." "Unity through violence," Lord Grey rumbled. "How typical of young races." Walker kept his cool. "We prefer to think of it as learning from our mistakes, something all species must do to grow." The High Counselor's eyes narrowed, but he said nothing more as they entered the council chamber. The room was enormous, with floating platforms arranged in circles rising toward the distant ceiling. Thousands of representatives from across the galaxy watched as the human delegation took their place on the lowest platform. As Walker prepared his opening speech, he caught whispered conversations from nearby platforms. Most seemed skeptical of humanity's readiness, but a few spoke with interest about Earth's rapid technological progress. The Council's division was clear. The older, established species saw humans as dangerous upstarts, while younger races saw potential allies. Walker stepped forward as the chamber fell silent. In his pocket, he held a data chip containing proof of several Council species secretly working to restrict human expansion. He had hoped to avoid using it, but the hostility in the room left him no choice. Humanity deserved fair treatment, and he would make sure they got it. What he didn't know was that his next words would set in motion events that would change the galaxy forever. Ambassador Walker stood at the center of the council chamber, his voice clear and steady as he presented humanity's case. The floating platforms around him hummed softly, filled with representatives from hundreds of alien species. Some leaned forward with interest, while others shifted uncomfortably in their seats. "And now," Walker said, reaching into his pocket, "I must address a serious concern." He held up a small data chip that glowed faintly blue. This contains proof that certain council members have been secretly working to block human expansion into neutral space. The chamber erupted in whispers. Lord Grey's metallic scales bristled as he rose from his seat. These are serious accusations, Ambassador. I hope you have substantial evidence. Walker nodded and inserted the chip into the chamber's central display system. The evidence is quite clear, High Counselor. Ships from your own fleet have been spotted placing warning beacons in neutral systems, marking them as forbidden to human vessels. Holograms appeared above the chamber floor, showing alien ships placing devices in various star systems. The timestamps and coordinates were clearly visible. Several council members began talking at once, their voices rising in anger or surprise. Furthermore, Walker continued, we have recorded communications between. A sudden tremor ran through the station. Walker stumbled as the artificial gravity flickered. Above him, several platforms' safety fields wavered. Technical difficulties, Lord Grey announced smoothly. Nothing to be concerned about. Please continue, Ambassador. Walker straightened his uniform and took a breath. As I was saying, we have recorded communications between. The gravity failed completely this time. Walker and his team floated up from their platform. Before anyone could react, the gravity slammed back on at triple strength. The human delegation crashed to the floor with devastating force. Chaos erupted in the chamber. Medical teams rushed forward, but it was already too late. Ambassador Walker and his entire team lay motionless, their bodies broken by the sudden gravitational shift. Lord Grey's voice boomed through the confusion. This is a terrible tragedy. Emergency teams, attend to them at once. But as the medical teams reached the humans, their scans confirmed what everyone could see. No one could have survived such a violent gravity shift. Ambassador Walker and his entire diplomatic team were dead. In the confusion, no one noticed a small maintenance drone retrieving the data chip from the central display. By the time order was restored, the evidence Walker had tried to present was gone. Lord Grey stood before the stunned council members, his voice heavy with fake sorrow. This is a dark day for the council. A tragic malfunction has claimed innocent lives. We must launch an immediate investigation into this terrible accident. Some council members nodded in agreement, but others exchanged worried glances. The timing seemed too convenient, the malfunction too selective in its targets. Undersecretary Trull stepped forward. High Counselor, the human delegation's quarters should be sealed for the investigation. Their belongings will be returned to Earth along with their bodies, Lord Grey interrupted. We must show proper respect in this time of grief. As cleanup crews moved in, Lord Grey turned to his closest advisors. Send a message to Earth. Express our deepest condolences for this tragic accident. Assure them that a full investigation will be conducted. One advisor shifted nervously. The humans may not accept our explanation. Lord Grey's scales rippled in what passed for a dismissive gesture. What can they do? They are centuries behind us in technology, alone in a galaxy they barely understand. They will accept our condolences because they have no choice. As the chamber slowly emptied, a small blinking light remained active in Walker's broken comm unit. No one noticed the tiny device, still faithfully recording and transmitting everything that had happened. The evidence was already on its way to Earth, traveling through encrypted channels Walker had set up before his death. The humans would know the truth, and Lord Grey's confidence in their helplessness would prove to be his greatest mistake. The United Earth Defense Command Center buzzed with activity. Screens along the walls showed the encrypted transmission from Ambassador Walker's hidden devices. Military leaders from around the world watched in stone-faced silence as the recording played through once again. General Marcus stood at the center of the room, his weathered face illuminated by the holographic display. The recording showed Walker's final moments in perfect detail. The selective gravity failure, Lord Grey's careful orchestration, the theft of the evidence. There was no doubt about what had happened. Play the final transmission again, Marcus ordered. The room fell silent as Walker's last message, recorded just hours before his death, filled the air. "If you're hearing this," Walker's voice was clear and determined, "then my failsafe has been activated. The Council has likely killed me to hide their violations of galactic law. Do not let them dismiss this as an accident. Do not let them think humanity is weak." Marcus turned to face the assembled leaders. The Galactic Council's official message claims this was a tragic malfunction. They offer their condolences and promise an investigation. His voice hardened. "They expect us to accept this lie and move on. They think we're primitive." Admiral Jackson added from her position near the main tactical display. "Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. They believe we have no choice but to accept whatever story they tell us." The room erupted in angry murmurs. Humanity had worked too hard, come too far, to be dismissed like this. Walker's murder wasn't just an attack on one man. It was an attack on Earth itself. "What are our options?" someone asked. Marcus pressed a button, and a holographic display changed to show Earth's military assets. The combined fleet of all nations hung in orbit, over 300 ships equipped with the latest faster-than-light drives. Not as advanced as Council technology, but far more numerous than anyone outside Earth knew. "We've been preparing for possible conflict since we first reached the stars," Marcus explained. "Every ship is armed with weapons the Council doesn't know about. Every crew is trained for combat scenarios they think we're too primitive to imagine." Admiral Jackson stepped forward. "Our ships are smaller than theirs, but we have something they don't expect: human ingenuity. We've studied their technology, their tactics, their weaknesses. They think we're centuries behind, but we've been planning for this possibility from the start." The tactical display shifted to show Council space. Key military installations, supply lines, and communication hubs glowed red on the map. Walker's hidden devices had gathered more than just evidence of the Council's crimes. They had collected detailed tactical data. "We are not some primitive species to be pushed aside," Marcus declared. "We will not send strongly worded protests. We will not accept their false condolences. We will show them exactly what humanity is capable of." The room filled with determined nods. Humanity had faced threats before, had overcome seemingly impossible odds throughout its history. This would be no different. "Send the message to all Earth forces," Marcus ordered. "Operation Swift Justice is now active. All ships are to move to their designated positions. We strike in 24 hours. As commanders rushed to their stations and ships began powering up their engines, Marcus looked one final time at Walker's frozen image on the screen. "They thought killing you would silence Earth," he said quietly. "Instead, it will be the last mistake the Council ever makes." In orbit, Earth's fleet began to move. Hundreds of ships, their crews ready and determined, prepared for war. The Council was about to learn a harsh lesson. Humanity didn't seek diplomatic solutions when its ambassadors were murdered. They didn't file protests when faced with treachery. They sought justice, and they were about to show the galaxy exactly how humanity handled those who betrayed them. Admiral Thomas stood on the bridge of the Earth flagship, Retribution, watching as 300 human ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel. They emerged perfectly positioned around one of the Council's largest military bases. The element of surprise was total. No alarms had been raised, no defensive shields activated. "All ships report ready," his tactical officer announced. "The Council base hasn't detected us yet. Their sensors are still calibrated to ignore human technology as harmless." Thomas allowed himself a small smile. The Council's arrogance would be their downfall. "Launch Operation Thunderstrike," he ordered. "Follow the plan exactly." Across the human fleet, weapon systems powered up. Not the primitive missiles the Council expected, but advanced weapons hidden inside seemingly harmless cargo containers. Walker's death had forced humanity to reveal their true capabilities sooner than planned. "First wave, engage," Thomas commanded. 50 smaller ships broke formation, racing toward the base's communication arrays. The Council's automated defenses finally activated, but they were programmed to stop direct attacks. The human ships didn't fire. They simply ran through the arrays at full speed, their reinforced hulls tearing through the delicate equipment. "Communications blackout achieved," reported the tactical officer. "The base is cut off." The main council base finally realized they were under attack. Massive defense platforms turned toward the human fleet, powering up weapons that could vaporize whole ships. But Thomas had studied these weapons for years. He knew exactly how long they took to charge. "Second wave, commence attack pattern Delta," he ordered. 100 ships split into smaller groups, each targeting a different section of the base. They weaved between the defensive fire with precision that shocked the Council gunners. The Council's large ships began launching from their docks, but they moved slowly, designed for power rather than speed. Human vessels darted between them, firing precise shots at engines and weapon systems. What the Council saw as primitive weapons were actually highly focused energy beams, designed to pierce specific weaknesses in their shields. "My lord," a Council commander's panic transmission cut through the battle noise. "The humans, they're not using standard weapons. They're using modified versions of our own technology." Thomas remembered Walker's hidden recordings, which had captured detailed scans of Council technology. Earth's scientists had worked in secret for years, studying and improving upon these designs. Now that work was paying off. "Third wave, begin your run," Thomas ordered. The remaining ships moved forward, targeting the base's power core. Council ships tried to intercept them, but they were out of position, their formations broken by the earlier attacks. "They're sending a distress signal through their backup systems," the communications officer reported. "Good," Thomas replied. "Let them call for help. Let the whole Council see what happens when they underestimate humanity." The battle lasted less than an hour. When it was over, the Council's largest military base was in ruins. Their mighty ships floated powerless in space, their crews surrendering to the human vessels that had so thoroughly outmaneuvered them. Thomas opened a channel to the surviving Council commanders. "This is Admiral Thomas of Earth's First Fleet. Your base is destroyed. Your ships are disabled. This is humanity's response to the murder of our ambassador." He paused, letting his next words sink in. "And this is just the beginning. We are not primitive. We are not weak. We have studied you for years, learning your weaknesses while you ignored us as harmless. Today's battle was a warning. Justice is coming for those who betrayed humanity's trust." As his fleet prepared to jump to their next target, Thomas looked at the destruction they had caused. The Council would soon learn that they had awakened something far more dangerous than they could imagine. Humanity's full military might. "Send word to Earth Command," he ordered. "First strike successful. Moving to Phase 2 of the operation. The Council is about to learn why you should never underestimate humans in battle." Captain Rogers watched from the bridge of his stealth ship as another Council supply convoy exploded into space dust. His small fleet of 20 ships had struck and vanished before the convoy's escorts could even raise their shields. It was the 10th such raid this week. "Message from the Green World Alliance," his communications officer reported. "They're ready to deliver the shield frequency data we requested." Rogers nodded. The Green Worlds were one of several younger Council species who had secretly reached out to Earth after the war began. They had watched humanity's swift and precise attacks with growing admiration. "Lord Grey's forces massacred our colonists last year," the Green World ambassador had told Rogers in a secret meeting. "He claimed it was pirates, but we knew the truth. Now we want to help you destroy him." In the Council's main chamber, far from the fighting, Lord Grey raged at his commanders. The massive view screen showed dozens of burning supply stations and disabled warships, all victims of human attacks. "How are they doing this?" he roared. "They're supposed to be primitives. Their weapons shouldn't be able to touch our shields." An aide rushed in with more bad news. "My lord, the Star Federation is withdrawing from the Council. They say they can no longer support leadership that murders diplomats." Lord Grey's metallic scales rattled with fury. The Star Federation was the third species to leave the Council this week. More would follow. He could sense the growing unrest among the younger races. Back on Roger's ship, preparations for the next raid were underway. His tactical display showed the location of every major Council military installation, thanks to data provided by their new allies. The younger species had suffered under the old guard's corruption for centuries. Now they sought a chance for change. "Captain," his sensor officer called out, "the Blue Star Empire just transmitted the access codes for the Council's primary defense network. They're officially supporting Earth." Rogers allowed himself a small smile. The Blue Stars were one of the Council's most technologically advanced species. With their help, Earth's forces could bypass the strongest Council defenses. "The Council is falling apart," he said to his crew. "Their own members are turning against them. Prepare for attack pattern Omega. We're going to show them how humans fight when we have friends." Across Council space, more species were choosing sides. Some supported Lord Grey out of fear or tradition, but many more had watched humanity's controlled and precise attacks with growing respect. Earth forces destroyed military targets but avoided civilian casualties. They disabled ships rather than destroying them when possible. They fought with honor even against those who had shown none. In his private chambers, Lord Grey received another disturbing report. Half of his own fleet commanders were refusing to fight. Some claimed mechanical problems. Others openly questioned his leadership. The murder of Ambassador Walker, meant to keep humanity in its place, had instead started a revolution within the Council itself. "Send word to our remaining allies," he ordered. "We must crush these humans before more species join them. Gather every loyal ship we have. We will end this with one massive attack." But even as he spoke, Roger's fleet was striking another blow. Council ships exploded silently in space as human vessels darted between them with deadly precision. Each attack was carefully planned using intelligence from their new allies. "Send the signal to Earth Command," Rogers ordered as his fleet vanished into FTL travel. "Tell them Phase 5 is complete. The Council's alliance is broken. They stand alone now." The war had changed. What started as humanity's response to a diplomat's murder had become a revolution. The galaxy was choosing sides, and the old guard was losing. The final battle was approaching, and Lord Grey was about to learn that he had not just awakened humanity's wrath, he had shattered his own empire in the process. Major Smith stood in the command center of Operation Retribution, surrounded by holographic displays showing thousands of ships. Earth's entire fleet was gathered, along with vessels from 24 former Council species. The largest military force ever assembled in galactic history was ready to strike. "All fleets report ready," his tactical officer announced. "Human forces are in position. Our allies have confirmed their targets. We launch in 5 minutes." Smith looked at the battle plan one final time. The combined fleet would hit all of Lord Grey's remaining strongholds simultaneously. No more guerrilla attacks or quick strikes. This was the killing blow. "Send the final message to all ships," Smith ordered. "Operation Retribution begins now." Across Council space, over 5,000 ships jumped into faster-than-light travel at exactly the same moment. They appeared around every major Council world, their weapons already charged and ready. "My lord," a panicked officer burst into Lord Grey's command room. "Human ships, they're everywhere. They're attacking all our worlds at once." Lord Grey rushed to his command center, his metallic scales dark with rage. On every screen, he saw the same thing. Massive fleets appearing from nowhere, striking with devastating precision. Human ships led each attack, coordinating with their allies in perfect harmony. "Launch everything we have," Lord Grey roared. "Every ship, every weapon. Crush these primitives once and for all." But as his commanders tried to respond, nothing happened. Ship after ship reported system failures. Defense platforms went dark. Command signals disappeared. In his command center, Smith allowed himself a small smile. "Activate the virus," he ordered. Months ago, their allies had helped plant a sophisticated computer virus in the Council's military network. Now, at the perfect moment, it activated. Council ships lost power. Defense systems crashed. Communication networks went silent. Council forces are disabled on all fronts, reported the tactical officer. Our allies' tech specialists confirm 80% of their military capabilities are offline. Lord Grey watched in horror as his mighty fleet drifted helplessly in space. The few ships still functioning were quickly surrounded by human vessels. His supposedly inferior enemies had outfought him at every turn. "Send the surrender demand," Smith ordered. The message went out to every council world simultaneously. "Your military is defeated. Your allies have abandoned you. Surrender now or face the consequences." But Lord Grey wasn't finished. In his private hangar, he boarded his personal battleship, the most powerful vessel in council space. "I will not be defeated by primitives," he roared over all channels. "I will destroy them myself." Smith watched calmly as the massive ship launched. "All ships hold position," he ordered. "Let him come." Lord Grey's battleship charged toward Earth's fleet, its weapons powering up to their maximum. The ship was a technological marvel, capable of destroying dozens of vessels with a single shot. "Target locked," Smith's weapons officer reported. "Ready to fire." "Wait," Smith said quietly. "Let him get closer. Let him think he has a chance." The battleship drew closer, its weapons reaching full power. Lord Grey's voice boomed across all channels. "Die, primitive scum." "Now," Smith ordered. 1,000 ships fired simultaneously, not at the battleship's shields or weapons, but at one specific point, a tiny weakness in the engine design that their allies had revealed. The combined blast hit with perfect precision. Lord Grey's mighty vessel exploded in a flash of light that lit up space like a new sun. The last great leader of the old council died as he had lived, underestimating humanity until this final moment. "Send word to Earth Command," Smith ordered as the explosion faded. "Operation Retribution is successful. The Council's military is destroyed. Their leadership is gone. The war is over." Across the galaxy, celebration erupted among Earth's allies. The old corrupt council was finished. Now would come the hard part, building something better in its place. The new council chamber looked very different from the old one. Gone were the floating platforms that had kept species separated by rank. Instead, a single round table filled the room, with all representatives seated as equals. At its center stood a simple memorial, a hologram of Ambassador Walker, forever reminding them of the price of corruption. General Marcus, now Earth's chief representative, looked around the table. Species that had once been bitter enemies now worked together. The younger races sat alongside the older ones, their voices carrying equal weight in all decisions. "The final votes are in," announced the session moderator. "The new Galactic Charter has been approved by all member species." Marcus nodded in satisfaction. The Charter's first law made diplomatic immunity absolute. Any attack on an ambassador would be considered an act of war against all member species. Never again would a single corrupt leader dare to murder a diplomat. "The trial results have also been confirmed," continued the moderator. "Lord Grey's surviving supporters have been found guilty of conspiracy and murder. They will spend the rest of their lives helping rebuild the worlds their corruption damaged." In the space around the station, ships from 100 different species patrolled together. Human vessels flew alongside their former enemies, now partners in keeping the peace. The war had taught them all an important lesson. True strength came from unity, not dominance. "Earth's technology sharing program has been approved," Marcus announced to the assembly. "Our scientists will work with all member species to improve FTL travel and defensive capabilities. No more hoarding of advances, no more keeping others weak to control them." The changes went far beyond the military. Trade routes once controlled by a few powerful species were now open to all. Colonies that had suffered under the old council's restrictions were growing and prospering. A new age of exploration and cooperation had begun. "Ambassador Walker would be proud," said the representative from the Green Worlds, one of Earth's earliest allies in the war. His death sparked a revolution, but not the one Lord Grey expected. Instead of destroying humanity, he united the galaxy. Marcus walked to the window, watching ships come and go from the station. Each vessel now carried a new symbol, a star surrounded by joined hands, representing the unity of all species. It was Walker's personal symbol, adopted by the new council in his honor. "We've received the first applications for council membership," reported another representative. 3 newly discovered species are requesting to join. Under the old council, they would have been forced to wait centuries. Now they'll be welcomed as equals. The war had lasted just 6 months, but it had changed the galaxy forever. Humanity had proven that being younger didn't mean being weaker. Technology alone didn't determine strength. Unity, strategy, and justice were far more powerful than any weapon. "Let the record show," Marcus said, standing to address the council, "that today marks 1 year since Ambassador Walker's murder. The galaxy is forever changed because of his sacrifice, but I believe it changed for the better." Around the table, representatives nodded in agreement. The old council had ruled through fear and division. The new one would lead through cooperation and respect. It was a fitting memorial to a diplomat who had believed in peace even as he prepared for war. "One final item," Marcus continued. "The Earth delegation proposes that we establish the Walker Initiative, a program to identify and prevent corruption before it can threaten the peace we've built. Never again will power be concentrated in the hands of a few. Never again will ambition override justice." As the vote was taken and the measure passed unanimously, Marcus looked once more at Walker's hologram. The ambassador seemed to be smiling, pleased that his death had not been in vain. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Never underestimate humanity's capacity for justice or its power to unite others in a noble cause. The new age had begun, and this time, all species would face the future together.